My old boss fired me over a lie so he could hand my job to his nephew. 2 years later, I became his boss. My name is David. I worked as an operations manager for 3 years under a man named Robert at a mid-sized logistics company. I trained people, hit every target, and never had a single write-up on my file. Then Robert's nephew, Kyle, graduated college and needed a job. And suddenly my performance stopped mattering. It started with small things. Robert began nitpicking reports that used to get approved without comment. He'd bring up minor mistakes in meetings that everyone made, but only mention mine. I didn't think much of it at first. Figured he was just having a rough stretch. Then, 6 weeks before I was let go, a shipment error happened on my shift. A mislabeled pallet that cost the company about $4,000. It wasn't my mistake. I flagged the labeling issue in writing 2 days earlier, told my supervisor, and been told it would get handled. It didn't get handled, and when it blew up, Robert pulled the original email chain and somehow the version he presented to HR didn't include my warning email at all. I was called into HR a week later and terminated for repeated documentation failures leading to financial loss. I asked to see the specific documentation. They showed me a printout of the email chain, missing my warning message, conveniently starting from the message after mine. I said the email was incomplete. HR said the decision had already been finalized with leadership. Kyle started in my old role 12 days later. He graduated 3 months before that, with a marketing degree, no operations background at all. I didn't fight it right away because I didn't have proof, only a bad feeling and a missing email I couldn't produce from a system I no longer had access to. I took a job at a competing company, smaller at the time, doing similar work. I kept my head down and worked harder than I ever had, partly out of spite, partly because I needed to prove something to myself. That company grew fast over the next 2 years, expanded into new regions, and I got promoted twice, eventually into a regional director position overseeing several accounts, including new client onboarding. About a year and a half after I was fired, my company won a major logistics contract, absorbing operations from a smaller struggling firm that couldn't keep up with volume. That smaller firm turned out to be a subcontractor working directly under Robert's old company. Then came the part one didn't plan for. Corporate restructuring meant my company was now managing performance reviews for certain partner-side staff, including operations leads at partner facilities. Robert's company was one of them, and Robert himself, it turned out, had been demoted internally after a separate incident nobody would fully explain to me, moved into a role that now technically reported up through the very partnership structure I oversaw. The first meeting was a scheduling call, nothing dramatic. I saw his name on the list of facility leads I'd be reviewing quarterly and said nothing, let it play out normally. He didn't recognize the name change in title structure until he actually saw me on the video call. He went quiet for a solid 5 seconds before saying my name like he was checking he wasn't imagining it. I kept it entirely professional. I asked about his numbers, his team's performance, standard questions. He answered carefully, clearly aware of exactly who was now reviewing his facilities output. I never brought up the firing. I never mentioned Kyle, who I heard didn't last a year in the role before quietly moving to a different department. I didn't need to say any of it out loud. Robert already knew. Every quarterly review call after that, he was polite in a way he never was 3 years earlier, careful, deferential, the way people get around someone who now holds something over them, even if that something is never spoken. I don't know if he ever told anyone why he seemed different after that contract started. I know I never once used the position to make things harder for him than needed to be. I didn't have to. Just being the one asking the questions was enough.